Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome, Knowledge Boners, to the Knowledge Boner podcast. We are here for episode 3 of the productivity series. Here with my boy Wally. Wally, how's it going, man?
What up, knowledge boners? I am rocking the tank top again. I
As usual.
yeah, this is gonna be the normal clothing, even though it's like 40 degrees in Dallas. But whatever.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't believe it's that cold already, especially from the weather coming in.
Yeah, well, what made it worse was that at first it was like 70, 80 degrees, and then within like a day it dropped all the way down to like 40. So I'm used to going out and I'm like sweating outside, and then I go outside yesterday and it's like freaking nippy. So
Still hot and humid in Florida,
of
so
course.
nothing's really changed.
Yeah, I figured.
So I know the past couple of days, we talked about the new software that we have running now with the Your Mentor bot and what it can do. And one of the features we mentioned was affirmations, and that's going to be the basis of today's episode. And this topic really excites me because it's super powerful. You can think of affirmations as almost a way, and you can even call it, I don't even care what you call it. You can call it brainwashing. It's almost a way of brainwashing yourself for success. And I really think this is like one of the biggest hidden gems from highly productive, highly successful people, whether it's athletes, millionaires, billionaires, etc. And what's interesting is they all do this. And what I mean by brainwashing is, they've done studies on this, even on people such as like Michael Jordan. And what's interesting about your brain is whatever you think, you believe. So maybe you sit at home and stuff and you judge yourself, or maybe like you feel like you're overweight, or you just can't be successful, and you're just, you think negative thoughts. Well, the thing is, anytime you think something negative, your brain can't tell the difference between imaginary and reality. And they've actually proven this. So, for instance, take Michael Jordan. He was able to put in training and shoot free throws over and over and over again. And he talked about how after practice, he would spend hours sitting on the bench and then just imagining the shot going in again and again and again. What was interesting by that is when he imagined it and he felt it, his brain literally can't tell the difference between him physically shooting the ball and making it and him imagining it happening. It's almost as if he's still shooting those free throws. So they kind of had a revolutionary breakthrough with studying successful people and realizing, like, holy crap, like you can actually program your brain to think better thoughts and be successful. But that also requires weeding out the negative. And that's where affirmations come into play. So Wally, why don't you give them some examples of an affirmation, and what do we mean by that, and why is it important?
So one example of an affirmation that I may or may not have used is, "I am the most attractive man in this room today." But it's literally I think Joel Osteen even talks about this too, but he has a book about it called The Power of I Am, which, I mean, not everybody's a Joel Osteen fan. I'm not necessarily one myself, but I just happen to know about the book. But I think it's important, at least as far when it comes to affirmations, where it talks about that self-talk kind of thing. So typically affirmations start with I am and then something. So typically it's a, with an affirmation, you're trying to affirm something that you don't necessarily believe yourself yet, but you're trying to program it into yourself. So you're trying to affirm it for yourself. That's like where the base of the word comes from, affirm, right? So just like me, it's like, today as I sit here, I'm not as rich as I want to be, but in my head, I think I am the richest person that, I'm the richest I'll ever be right now. You know what I mean? Like literally, and I just continue to fuel my brain with things like that. And basically what that does is it tricks me mentally, because then I'm like, okay, like whenever I think affirmations come into play for me, like the most whenever I not overcome, but whenever I run into adversity. So when you run into adversity, it's typically those moments when you run into adversity when you start hearing all that self-talk. So if you weren't doing affirmations and you didn't talk to yourself, then whose voices do you hear? You hear other people's voices. You hear your mom in the back, like, okay, like let's say you burn $500 on accident on ads or something and you fuck up. So then you hear, you're in the back of your head, your mom's like, oh, maybe you really weren't good at this. Maybe you actually are bad, or maybe you actually suck, or whatever. And so you actually hear those voices. But instead, if you were using affirmations and you were speaking to yourself, then you would actually hear your own voice. And that would help you like kind of reprogram yourself into the right thought pattern.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you used that as an example. Because, we spoke about that case actually coming up, and how you react to something like that. For instance, if you know that you have to test stuff out in business and you have to go out and experiment, whether it's doing something in the gym, whether it's even picking up girls, that you're going to be getting that rejection from talking to girls. It could be something as simple as, I feel excited whenever I go and I speak to a girl to introduce myself to her, on a daily basis, and um, and exhilarated whenever I get rejected because I know that my game's getting better. Just stuff like that. So when you speak those stuff out in affirmations, no matter what it is, it basically is just telling your brain, like just like Wally said, is if he were to spend money on ads and he were to lose money, most people would be like, oh no, that sucks. But an actual marketer who understands that that's the part of it, spending money to acquire a customer, they look at it as like, oh man, like who cares? That's a good thing. Like, great. Like whenever I lose money from advertising, I feel amazing because I know that I'm one step closer to, having an ad that's going to convert, that's going to change my business. You guys see the difference? Like there's a huge difference there between realizing that you just lost money on advertising, but it's inevitable, right? So when you use those affirmations to your advantage, you change your thought process. One for me especially is, when it comes to going to the gym, me and Wally like doing like body weight stuff, as well as like lifting weights. Not so much Wally as he is in now. He's actually lifting more weights now, but he's definitely been getting into body weight stuff. But I've always been used to that. So one thing I've never really liked doing is sprinting. I've always been like a distance runner, and I would rather run and jog than just do burst sprints all out, just because I haven't. So I've literally I added to my affirmations weeks and months ago, feeling exhilarated when I go and do sprints. Like I love it. I wanted to program my brain to get to the point where I'm going to get excited on days. And it actually worked. There are mornings where I wake up and I'm like, yes, it's, Tuesdays and Thursdays are my sprint days. And if I don't do it now, I feel weird because I was able to reprogram my brain for it. And now it's just like, yes. I mean, guys, you can use this for anything. If you eat unhealthy, right? And you're like, okay, I know I need to stop eating burgers and I need to eat, I need to be eating this, but I don't like it. You can program yourself to feel, great when you have those wins, and whenever you eat something good. And then, like, oh yeah, I feel great. I know that eating healthy is going to help me achieve my weight goals. I'm going to feel good. I'm going to look good. And every time I'm just around healthy food, I feel pumped up. I just love being surrounded by it, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't matter. Now, I can say firsthand, like I get it from other people's perspective. I think some people may think that that's like kind of like hippie shit, like, oh, that's, that's a crock of shit and bullshit. And the thing is it's really not, because if you always think negative thoughts, and you can, and you know what's funny, Wally, is you can tell, like, I can read comments from people on Facebook, and I can tell who sits in like negativity just from people's responses. A buddy of mine posted a picture of his results of him like showing his back, and he has some insane results. And then it's so funny is like anytime someone, like, people always have to like put in like a minor jab, like be careful, like don't go. I think it was his grandmother or someone, but she was like, oh well, be careful, like don't go overboard. And you can tell from her picture she's overweight. And it's just that one little, it seems so minuscule, right? Like when you hear that and you read it, it doesn't seem like anything, but it really says a lot about people. Like anytime someone has to go out of their way to hold somebody back, or to put that little remark in on someone else's success, like oh, don't change, let's say it's wealth, and someone in Wally's family sees them, and let's say Wally's making $100,000 a month. Oh, that's great, son, but don't work too hard. Don't let money change you. Just shit like that. Or people always say like the different things, and you could have like admirations, goals to go higher and to go higher, and people will always have to try to pull you back. And what it is it's their own insecurities. It's because their mind just can't comprehend being able to be dedicated to something. And I think, and I could tell, and it's so funny is like if you have those negative thoughts and you're a negative person, if you test this, just give it 30 days. Like literally write down 10 things, your fears, like bad things that you think about yourself, or stuff that you're uncomfortable about. You know, take Wally, you know, he's here now. He doesn't like being on fucking camera. He hates it.
Nope. Mhm.
It's natural. Like he seems very comfortable, but you know, he's getting better at it every day. And I don't even know if he even, do you even do that with your affirmations right now, Wally? Is camera like a thing that you added to your list?
Nope. I just do it.
Okay. Well, yeah, there you go. But it's just so important, guys, that you kind of list things out. And if you are using actually we haven't shown the podcast audience the actual Your Mentor bot. That's something that you would see if you're in our Leads Closing Sales Facebook group.
Right.
So again, you're going to hear us emphasize this a lot in the next coming weeks. Guys, go to Facebook, type in Leads Closing Sales, join the Facebook group, because you're definitely going to want to see the software. It's gonna, you can list out your affirmations. It's going to remind you to do them every day. It's going to hold you accountable, because we all know that we can't rely on ourselves, right?
Mhm.
It's hard when
Absolutely.
you hold yourself accountable. So use other means to be able to do so.
Mhm.
But you know, do you have anything else to add to that, for affirmations, or maybe things you've seen of other people that?
Yeah, I do. Because I mean, well, it's kind of funny. You were talking there a little bit about the about knowing how people are, like knowing the people like from the comment that they make on Facebook, and like
Mm-hmm.
you go look at their profile, and then you can kind of see like, oh, okay, well that person said that because of this, and so this kind of goes back to you know, and I'm gonna do just a small lesson here. This is supposed to be productivity week, but I'm gonna help you a little bit with persuasion, right? So persuasion, right? So there's this thing. Um, I didn't learn it. It's not from me. I mean, I learned it, but it's not from me. But it's called the persuasion triangle. So for you guys on video, you can see me draw this triangle, right? Okay. So on the top of this triangle, you know, is the most important thing that it is when it comes to persuasion. What I mean by persuasion is when it comes to talking to people, like affecting them, actually like making an impact, right? And the most important thing, and it accumulates for over 60% of what you say or anything you do, is the who. And I just think it's really, really interesting that you point out, you know, how people are thinking whenever they're commenting negatively or on people's stuff, whenever they have success or whatever, and coming from a place of like not abundance, right? Coming from a place of lack. And it's just kind of funny because you are literally looking into their who, right? Their who is not very strong. Hold on. Okay, I froze for a second, but we're back. But their who is not very strong. So what I mean by that, right? So they like literally like you go look into their profile, and the reason that they're lashing out you is because their who, right, their perspective of their self in frame to what you're doing is not correct. I think in the interview with Cherith, we talked about this a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
when it comes to talk about people, you know, whenever you do something that is outside of what they perceive of you, right? All of a sudden they start freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, like people don't like change. Remember, people hate change. So they're like, oh my gosh, that person's changing, and it makes me feel weird because I'm not changing and I'm still here. So let me go put them in their place. So I'm gonna go comment on this picture now, and maybe my little comment here will keep their head down. You know, I just want to pop that bubble. Maybe their heads get a little too big, right? Everybody has those asshole friends.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that people don't realize that they're doing it that way. You know, it literally is their inner self beliefs coming out. And it's so funny. I mean, when you study successful people, like the greats, like the biggest athletes, I mean, even Kobe, you know, a lot of people thought that, you know, Kobe Bryant was like just very, you know, cocky and arrogant. But what's so interesting is he'd even say, he's like, I don't understand, like people that are average. He's like, I don't understand you. I'll never understand you. And I never want to understand you. And he just believed himself to be great. And the stuff that he told himself, and his thought process is why he was able to achieve, you know, new heights. Because if you don't believe something, guys, if you don't even believe it's possible, like some people, you even talk about it being possible, like let's say $20,000 a month. You say to them like, oh man, you know, I just found this formula. This guy's making $100,000 a month, and I'm thinking about investing into his program or maybe his mentorship. And it's like, you know, if I can only do a fraction of what he does, I'm super excited because I can use the extra cash and I could possibly make $20,000 a month. People immediately, like their mindset is, okay, well, no, that's not possible. Like, no, you can't. $20,000 a month. Like, how are you supposed to do that? So they immediately go things like, oh, well, he's probably scamming you, or don't believe everything that you see on the internet. Like, you have to be careful, right? Like stupid shit like that. And you could just tell it's people's mindset on stuff. So like these affirmations are so important and absolutely, in my opinion, crucial to be able to overcome different things. Because as you guys grow and adapt, you're gonna face new challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like right now, you know, we're here on video, but you know, what if we had to go and speak on stage in front of 10,000 people, right? Like that's something new. Um, I'm comfortable talking in front of people. I don't know about 10,000 people. I could possibly be nervous, but up to that point, if I were to just tell myself over and over again that I feel amazing when I'm speaking in front of an audience, and I know that I'm changing people's perspective, I'm changing their lives, I'm making them, you know, want to do better in their life. That makes me feel confident. Then when I go to speak on stage, my brain's already just so attuned to that. And what's interesting is when I mentioned before about how, you know, your brain doesn't know the difference, Wally, they talked about that. Like if you had to go and get and perform on stage or speak, and like, let's say you're thinking like, oh gosh, well, what if I, you know, if you're a singer or a rock star and you're like, well, what if I trip? Every time you think that thought of tripping on stage, your brain perceives it as if it just happened. Like you like you're feeling the feelings of embarrassment and stuff, and it happened. Like that negative in your mind's eye doesn't know the difference. Like you just tripped on stage because you were thinking about it and feeling those feelings. So, and every time you do that, the odds of that happening become larger because it's your negative thoughts perceiving, compared to, I'm going to get on stage, I'm about to rock out, I'm going to crush this shit. You know, like everyone's going to be amazed, and the next thing you know, you go and you perform flawlessly. And it's just that way of just kind of brainwashing, and call it what it is. You're brainwashing yourself for success, guys. You know, whether you think it's bullshit or not, I say test it. Because there's nothing wrong with you just telling yourself positive thoughts and just walling out of the negativity, because we all do it. We all have our own inner demons. And the problem is, there is nothing worse. If you were sitting in front of me and Wally right now, and we were to say, you know, you're never going to make it, you're a pathetic piece of shit, you know, you're doomed, you're never going to be successful. There is nothing worse than you hearing that from yourself than coming from me and Wally. That's the problem, is when you say it to yourself, it's 10 times worse than you hearing it from somebody else, whether you like to believe it or not. It just is. So it's so important that you gauge yourself and you become successful. And
well, and then you got to think about it, you know, so many people go through that negative spiral immediately. So like one thing happens, and then you know why bad things happens in threes, because you keep thinking about them after the first one happens.
yeah, that's true. So yeah, we just want to just kind of explain the affirmation process, how it works. And whenever you're doing it, again, you need to base it on like a positive. Like you wouldn't say something negative like, you know, I hate being, you know, I hate being average and blah 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 blah, like stuff like that. Like you don't go that route, because you're still kind of focusing on a negative context. You want to make sure that what you're saying is all like positive words and positive actions, and aspiring kind of a feeling with it. You know, I feel exhilarated when I pick up the phone to do cold calls. Like I love it. It excites me, right? Because everyone knows cold calling sucks, right? You know, no one wants to even do that, because you're like, oh, you know, it's gonna suck. But over time, you do that, you're like, yes, like today I'm excited. Like today I get to pick up the phone. I'm gonna do cold calls, right? And that's kind of the biggest basis. So just kind of, I think a good exercise for everyone to do is just lay out what your limited beliefs are and what your fears are. What is it that you hate doing that makes you feel really uncomfortable? Whether it's going to the gym, working out, cardio, eating healthy. Like you know that you need to cut back on your calories, and you just won't do it. You're procrastinating on it, right? Make out a list of 10 things and then associate a positive with it, and just tell yourself every day out loud. Just read this to yourself. And that's key, guys. You need to read it on paper, and you need to say it with conviction out loud.
Why? Because who hears the first thing that you say? This guy. Yourself.
That's right.
For you guys listening, I'm pointing at myself.
Yeah, because you hear that even equates to like learning. There was a guy in the military that we had these modules that we had to learn to go up on rank on our job, and the tests were a pain in the butt, and he would pass and rank up on his first try every single time, which is really hard to do. And it was interesting what his testing method for this was, is he would read through all the modules, he would highlight the answers, right? And for like the section, so let's say you're studying a textbook, you go through like the units and the chapters, and they have the chapter questions and unit questions. He would highlight the answers after reading it to himself. Then he would read it out loud after highlighting the answers, and he'd use two different colors. So let's say like blue and yellow. And if there was a question in the unit questions as well as the chapter questions, and they had two different colors, well, blue and yellow makes green. So now he knows that that's an important topic. But because he read it out loud, he would read it once, he'd read it out loud, and then he would record himself reading it out loud. Then later he would listen to the recording, because now he has an audio. He's perceiving the audio of him saying it out loud. Yeah, and then in his brain it just got it. He had the visual, he had audio, he had seeing the colors, like knowing what's important, and just embedded in his head. So when it came time to the test, I mean, that's commitment. I mean, the dude deserved it. That's, I mean, the amount of hours he put into this, right? That just shows commitment based off of, somebody else who wants it compared to somebody who doesn't, right? So I think there's a lot of truth in that. Like if you can hear yourself saying something, as well as teaching it and regurgitating it out, like your belief system will come into play. So guys, this week is going to be all about productivity, affirmations, and us teaching and training on different things. So definitely check out the Leads Closing Sales Facebook group. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and we will see you in the next episode tomorrow. If you have any questions whatsoever, if you're catching me here on YouTube or Facebook or wherever this is, comment below, let us know your thoughts. Wally will be posting today's episode in Reddit as well. So Reddit community, definitely let us know your feedback and your thoughts on everything. And let us know if you're actually going to take action and test this stuff out. And if you're comfortable sharing what your affirmations are, we'd love to hear it with you guys, hear what you guys have to say. And we will catch you guys tomorrow in the next episode.